Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a really interesting weather pattern for November 9th, 2025. We're looking at what you could call a classic north-south split right across Tamil Nadu, and it's all based on some great analysis from Rainman Studio. So let's get right into it.
So the big question on everyone's mind is pretty clear. Is southern Tamil Nadu going to see some heavy rain today? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
To get to that answer, we first need to understand the major weather systems at play. You got to see the whole playing field to understand the game.
Okay, first up we have this thing called continental air. And just like the name says, it's this huge, really dry mass of air that's flowing down from central India. It's a major player in our weather story today.
And its impact? Well, it's pretty obvious. This dry air is exactly why the northern parts of Tamil Nadu and even into Andhra Pradesh are seeing less rain and, you guessed it, higher daytime temperatures. It's basically shoving all that moisture southward.
And this is where it gets really interesting. While the north is dealing with all that dry air, we've got a second system coming into play. It's a trough of low pressure moving in from the Andaman Sea. And it's doing the complete opposite. It's pulling in moisture and getting the south all set up for rain. Now, before we look ahead, it's always a good idea to look back. The rainfall data from the last 24 hours gives us some really important clues about what's unfolding right now.
And the numbers we're seeing from the southern districts, they really tell a story. We saw some pretty significant rainfall, especially around Madurai and Rudinagar. This is basically confirmation that the moisture from that trough we just talked about is already making a big impact down south.
The real standout number here is from Tiruparangkundram, a massive 56.8 millimeters of rain. A number that high isn't just a shower. It tells us there's some seriously strong convective activity happening in that region.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's zoom out just for a second and see how this whole pattern is playing out across the wider South Indian region.
And it's a real mixed bag out there. Southern Kerala is seeing something pretty similar to South Tamil Nadu, with moderate to heavy rain on the cards. Coastal Andhra might get a few light showers, but for Karnataka and Telangana, that dry continental air is completely in charge, keeping things mostly dry and pretty warm.
All right, let's bring it back home. It's time to get back to the main event and pinpoint exactly where we can expect the rain across Tamil Nadu today.
So this right here shows you the tale of two cities, or, well, two halves of a state. In the north, including areas like Chennai, that dry continental air is calling the shots. That means higher temperatures and only a slim chance of some isolated showers. But in the south, it's a completely different world. All that moist air is converging, creating the perfect conditions for rain.
So here's where the action is going to be. If you're anywhere from Teni and Madurai all the way down to Tirunelveli and Kanyakumari, you should definitely be prepared for some pretty intense rain. This is literally the collision zone where those two very different air masses are meeting.
So that's the story for today, but what about the next few days? Let's zoom out one more time and take a look at the bigger, long-term picture. Now, to look ahead, we have to talk about two big global climate patterns, the Kelvin wave and the Madden-Julian oscillation, or MJO for short. Don't worry about the complicated names. In simple terms, just think of them as these massive, globe-trotting weather makers that can seriously supercharge our monsoons.
And, there's a perfect analogy to help us understand how these two work together. The elephant's arrival is preceded by the sound of its bell.
So let's break that down. The Kelvin wave, that's the bell. It's the early warning signal. And right now, that bell is ringing over Indonesia. The MJO, well, that's the elephant. It's the main event, the big system that brings widespread heavy rain. So the fact that the bell is ringing suggests that the elephant, our MJO, could get active in that area in about 4 to 5 days, which could then spin up new systems for us in the Bay of Bengal.
And that, of course, leaves us with the final big question. When will the next major system actually form in the Bay of Bengal? The conditions are definitely brewing, and you can be sure it's something we'll be watching very, very closely. Thanks so much for joining us for this weather breakdown. We'll see you next time.